Hello, everyone, and welcome to the what? This is what episode 6 of Watchers on the Couch. As always, I am Roy Rogers of the Second Sons and the White Book, and joining me today is the two of the co-founders of The Wars to Come, my Second Sons co-host and White Book co-host, Jesse Carpenter. How are you doing today, Jesse?
I've been better.
You've been better? All right. Behind me is my soon-to-be wife, right over there. She's saying hi to everyone. Uh, I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. Get in there.
Get in there. I'm also joined by CT, who missed last week's episode. We missed you, CT. How are you doing?
Miss us.
I didn't miss I didn't miss anything. I feel nothing. I feel nothing at all.
And
I'm fine.
And we are joined today by internet scumbag himself with his first podcast/videocast appearance. One of my dearest friends in this community and out in the world, Matt Gaiman. How you doing, Matty?
I'm so happy right now, guys. Aren't you happy?
I am
I'm happy it's over.
thrilled.
I'm fucking sure.
I am thrilled. So why don't we just jump into it? Jesse, you're the heart and soul of this show. How did you feel about this episode?
All right, I'll be honest. Wait, is your chat room open for everyone again, or is it closed?
Should be chat. Are people not able to chat?
I don't know. I just haven't seen anyone say anything. So
Hello, chat.
There's nothing to say.
Oh, all right. I'm in the
Right,
chat. It
we got
says
one.
actual witch 36. So
all right,
that's
so
Ala.
first-
So she's definitely not a subscriber. So
all right. First 30
Oh,
minutes was the second best episode of this season. It was fine. It was beautiful. It was like to the point where they had gotten us. Like things were done well. Like it did look good. I understood what everyone was saying. I got what they were doing. And like John kills Danny, which is fine. Like I'm all aboard with that. Like I love it. We'll get more into that later. And then anything after that, I just like didn't understand what the fuck was going on. Like I had no idea. I don't understand what's happening. I don't know. Like maybe D&D just hate George. I don't know why. Maybe they had a fight. I don't know.
Think
I don't get it.
they hate all life.
I think they hate nerds for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They're about to ruin Star Wars too. I know, like way worse than before.
oh,
Jar Jar is about to be the most. Like, God damn! I just.
D&D's mission is the White Walkers' mission. They were supposed to destroy all life.
Destroy our stories.
hey, but
How
wait.
meta.
Stories are what make you like. Stories are the heart of the world and the heart of humanity, and they're what unite us. So the
Yeah.
person who knows stories the best should rule us. So I'm just saying, like that's what I took away from this work of political philosophy.
Old Nan should have been king before him, and none of this would have happened. Apparently,
It's true. She knew all about the White
Yeah.
Walkers and their cool spiders that never showed up in the show. I hope we get them in the books.
Boo! Boo!
All right. Hey, look. The dog petting budget was much higher in this episode, so we really
Oh.
gotta count.
I know I missed
Kinda
that
lucky stars.
episode with you guys, but I was calling it from that moment. I'm like, everybody's gonna have to eat shit on the John not petting Ghost thing because he's definitely gonna end up going north again, and we're gonna see Ghost one more time. I couldn't believe everybody was bitching about that so much.
Like,
all right.
I was
mean,
upset. All right, let's go to
I was
Matty.
super
Matt, I know, is the most positive of probably the three of us, or four of us, but compared to the three of the rest of us.
Jesse's
whatever.
soul
I'm
is
drunk.
dead.
I
so-
like Jesse. Like the first 30 minutes, like I liked it. I thought it was really well done. Like I read the spoilers, like the leaks, and
Me too.
I was like, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life." Like what? But I felt like I know you hated Tyrion's monologues, Roy, but I thought they sold the questionable story.
The second one sold it to you. Oh wow.
I
Okay.
felt the logic of Bran being him, like, okay, he hasn't done anything, so I guess he should, his whole,
this
you know,
was
eight-season
Tyrion's
arc should
clever
pay off.
plan. We've been waiting 4 fucking seasons for. God, I am more mad about Tyrion surviving than maybe anything.
I'm up there. That's probably my biggest
I
gripe.
fucking hate him.
All right, CT, hot takes. This is what this show does.
All right, so
CT,
there's two
how'd
things
you
I've
feel?
never said before about the Song of Ice and Fire universe that I said tonight out loud. The first one, when Tyrion threw his hand of the Kingpin down, was, oh man, I like Tyrion now. And the second one was after Jon Snow stabbed Daenerys to death. I said, hey, I like Jon Snow now. Those two things I've never said before. And that was pretty nice.
I love Jon. I like Jon was great in this episode. I loved him.
I mean,
So I've come to the realization that the
He
real
brought
hero,
balance to the Force.
oh my
the
god.
real hero of the story
Daddy
is
cast into the darkness.
the real hero of the story is Drogon. I figured this out tonight. Because Drogon realized when all this pain and torment that the Iron Throne has brought the universe, he burned that shit to the ground.
Oh, Drogon is Azor Ahai 100%.
Yes.
There we
and
go.
Fulaf. And just like there always has to be a big bad, now Bran is the big bad.
It's just like the second half of the episode was so goofy that like it was a fucking sitcom. Like it was.
So Bran Puppet Master.
I was literally half expecting someone to bust in while Bran was riding and just be like, "Hey, what are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be in here. Get out of here!"
Bran Puppet mastered this whole fucking story, and you know, and it's like he's like, I fucked over John, I fucked over everybody. He was ready.
Fucked
to
over
just-
Danny. Let's not forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Sansa, he was just like gonna make his sister subservient. She's like, no. The North is gonna live on its own, and he's just like, all right, fine, I'll let this one thing go. And
All right,
it's like,
we'll
that
break it down
cliffhanger
after this.
ending.
It's
But I just
really,
want people to think. I just want people to think about this until we get to that point. I don't want answers. Well, answer. What the fuck is the point in the Night's Watch?
I don't know. I have an important thing to say though, because for my thing. So, for a show that is run, co-created by two people who, when someone asked them how, I believe this was after season 5, they're like, so how does what happened to Stannis in this season really, like, how does that mean thematically? And they said, themes are for book reports. We're making a TV show. I was impressed that they had one of their characters on this show take a bludgeon and hit the audience over the head repeatedly with what the themes of the show and the episode were. Because that's what Tyrion did twice. Not once, but twice. And his monologue to Jon was painful.
Yeah.
All right? Like, I get it was supposed to motivate him, and it made sense in the like, I get it, but it was painful. It's like, okay, thank you for explaining me your take on A Song of Ice and Fire, Dan and Dave. I appreciate it. It's not my take, but I'm glad you just laid all the pieces out. Love sucks. I'm getting married, by the way, a week from today. Love sucks. It's the death of duty. Who wants that bullshit in their lives? Like, fuck it. Like, why care? Why care about human beings? But, of course, duty is also the death of love. So, I'm just saying.
God damn.
Bran
Right,
becoming king is the most, like, it's M. Night Shyamalan levels of pretentiousness towards writers' importances. Like, just inserting yourself into that role, like...
I mean, I wouldn't put it
it's a
past
bait
George.
switch.
Let's be honest here. I wouldn't put it past him either. But it would be
I mean,
Sam,
I
not
wouldn't either.
Tyrion.
And he's been tricking us all. He's like, oh, I've always associated myself with Tyrion. But deep down, Bran's the storyteller, right? And so,
I
like, Bran's
cannot
gonna be
get
the thing.
over how much the second half of this episode was just like, God, you guys are such fucking idiots. Fans, you stuck around all this time. You are fucking dumb. Like, it was just so. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's not over, though. Bran's the big bad now. He was really concerned about where Drogon was. He's like, I'll be back, guys. I gotta go have some green dreams.
Or maybe he's going to become... But maybe the whole problem just going to repeat itself. He'll warg into Drogon, and then we'll
I
just
do
have...
believe this. Alejandro coming through with it. I do believe Bran just puppet mastered his ass into
Yes,
our
he
throat.
absolutely did.
all right,
He's
all right.
smiling a lot more
Let's
in that
bring, I
last
guess, some
episode.
organization into this.
Who,
So...
that's the best part is like when they're that's how I know he puppet mastered. Why do you think I came all this way for? He fucking knew.
He knew from day one that he was going to be king. Just watch
He knew to
everyone
climb that little
fucking die.
God.
I guess...
Get on
Like-
his grin was palpable.
Got him? Is that what Bran should have said at the end
Yeah.
of the show? Got him?
Got him!
As soon as John was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, my king. I should have been there for you." Got him. Who's king now, bitch?
You were exactly
Take your
where you were
Targaryen ass
supposed
up
to
to
be.
the
But
wall.
also, to be honest with you, I turned out, I said, like, what was the specific moment that, like, Jon could have been there for Bran and then wasn't? Because I felt like of all the characters in the show that was there for Bran, it was Jon. Like, he even unintentionally
what was
saved
he
Jon
not
and
there
Jojen
for?
and Mira that one time.
It was either like pushing him, like Jamie pushing him, or saving him against the Night King. Like that's the only two things I could think of.
But he tried.
They
It
really-
wasn't like
they
Neither
really-
one of those things makes sense.
What my major problem with the episode was like Sansa just be like, yeah, sorry, I like kind of set off events to kill like all of King's Landing. Come in for a hug though. Like it's okay. Like I forgive you. Like what the fuck?
it's like, hey,
We're okay with that?
All right,
remember
let's-
how I totally ratted you out to your girlfriend, and then I told everybody about it, and she kind of went crazy afterwards? Have fun in Night's Watch, bro.
The Night's Watcher doesn't
Okay,
fucking
well,
defend
remember,
anything.
he tells him, I'm not your brother. All right.
So is the
so I
Night's
guess-
Watch just Jon Snow and the two random guys that were like raping people during this act? That they're like, you three are the new Night's Watch. You're going north. It's,
I
like,
guess-
it's not that bad of a fucking punishment, really. Like,
It really isn't. Like, hey, here's a great punishment. Let's send John to hang out with all his friends. Like, the only people who Jon
let's
Snow
make
cares
John
about.
watch his dog. That's his punishment. He goes
Sounds
north
great
and
to
he actually
me.
pets his fucking dog. Like,
Oh, man.
A life of servitude, just hanging out.
I'm going to turn...
And like, there's
the-
wildling women there. Like,
And he doesn't even end up serving the Night's Watch. He's like, oh, I guess I'm going beyond the wall now. See you guys.
I mean, who's going to stop him now? Sansa's not going
What's
to
he
chase
gonna-
after him.
what's he gonna do? Wheel his ass up to me?
And look, fucking, I don't know, the Unsullied are like, all right, I promised my girlfriend who's dead now that I would protect her people, so we're gonna go do that now. I don't know. But anyway, let's just start at the beginning with like, I don't know. Al and I were debating which like various communist figurehead Dany descends into becoming in the beginning of this. Worse than Stalin level of like exporting revolution. I don't know what the fuck to make of this whole like Dany thing. At the beginning,
Like,
up to the death.
thi-
Let's talk about, I guess, the whole thing up to the Tyrion speech. So just sort of like Dany as fascist / communist dictator. That like
Dany had a real hard time taking King's Landing. What makes that bitch think she's gonna get the whole world?
she didn't have a hard time. It was like the easiest thing in the world.
She,
Five
yeah,
minutes.
she had a hard time as far as her friendships were concerned.
It's true, but I don't know, the people who mattered, you know,
Yeah, I guess.
they were just like, okay, let's do it again.
Why didn't? Well, considering that you can just pour water on the Unsullied and they spawn like 3 more, yeah, sure. I guess she can't lose, and the Dothraki for that matter. But
In terms of Dany's arc, like I was fine with her going mad and like believing her kind of her own hype because I always had this feeling that she always won too easily in terms of like other characters in the books and in the show. Like they always had major setbacks. Jon fucking died. Tyrion, got exiled. Blah blah blah. And Dany's just like, oh, one easy victory after another after another.
I mean, I do
And her-
think.
Hey, hold on a second, Jesse. I know this. I agree with Matt because Tyrion explained that to me.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I know exactly
We
that
did
Matt
it.
is correct. Sorry, go ahead, Jesse. I had to get that in there.
Like, I agree with you, Matt. Like every broad stroke in this episode, besides the Night's Watch being a thing, and maybe that like I get all of these things. I do understand, like, and I don't think they're bad. It's that the path to get there and not understanding why the fuck they're happening, I have a problem with.
yeah,
Like
I-
I do think Dany will be the Mad Queen. I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen with Aegon, and not with.
I can't believe how much the story just doesn't make sense with no Aegon in it. Like,
Well, there is an Aegon. His name is John.
well, but there's
not
a
a
John.
Aegon.
John can't be both for the story to make sense.
Well, if you're on the show has taught us anything, combining characters just does not work for
Well,
Dan.
like, to be honest, like John being King Arthur didn't amount to anything in this show, did it? Like,
No.
drove Dany insane, right? Like,
he destroyed hereditary reign. Like, come on.
sort of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, I also love. We're just all over the place, but I just love how they like punt the football about succession. It's like, what is the number one problem that monarchies have? Actually, just governments in general, but particularly monarchies, and why primogeniture kind of solved the problem as much as it sucks.
also, it doesn't
wait.
make sense why people want peace. Okay, like I'm just being honest, like just completely being honest. After everyone goes back, the North are doing their own thing. They have no loyalty to the realm. Isn't the first person once the Unsullied leaves just be like, "Fuck this! I'll just take the throne." Like, who cares? My
Well,
house will just rule.
Braun's looking pretty ambitious.
I mean,
why not?
I mean, the question. I mean, that's the thing that really like didn't land for me about Sansa's. Like,
Well, I
what
think
is Bran? Like, not Bran. Excuse me, Bran's like actual concrete political support.
The thing is, you can't stop Bran. If you like try to scheme against Bran, so Bran's like, I fucking know about it. I'm gonna warg into you, and then you're gonna jump off a cliff. Like you can't stop him. You have a solid 50 years of him like putting his structures in and making sure everything's good to go. Because if you speak out against him, he's gonna kill you.
But doesn't
I guess
Bran
you're
already know if his reign is a failure or success? Doesn't he know every?
I have no
Exactly.
idea. It doesn't explain anything.
Like if Tyrion, if it wouldn't work out, Tyrion would ask him like, "Hey, do you want to be king?" He's like, "Fuck no."
Do you realize who actually won the Song of Ice and Fire? Bloodraven.
He did.
Bloodraven won.
I
He got
mean,
exactly what
That
he wanted.
is kind of
Blue Bran.
funny because if you view Bran as literally just being taken over by Bloodraven, which is kind of what happened, he did just win. So really, what we learned in this is that
Gotcha, bitch.
revolutionary political change doesn't work and just leads to massive death, and you shouldn't try to do it. Bitches be crazy, and a surveillance state is really the solution to all our problems. Like when you have giant political upheaval, failed revolution, you just need this dude who sits in a chair and, kind of like drones you to death until you
Creeps your ass to death.
I can't wait for
you
the
have
follow.
unity. Like
I can't wait
A
for the
Werewood in
follow-up
every
book,
kitchen.
1984, after Aegon's Landing.
Jess refused to accept Tyrion's punishment, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Did you hear what he said? He has to spend the rest of his life building handicap ramps all over Westeros
oh
so that
god,
the king can go everywhere."
literally
That's gonna be
Tyrion.
his life.
Okay.
Okay,
so-
let's try to do some semblance of an actual episode because this is just dark. All right, so
This is
we
perfection.
saw Danny in the Third Reich reign for a second, and randomly there's more Dothraki in this episode than last episode.
There's more Dothraki in this episode than there was in the first season.
I don't understand why Dothraki keep happening.
Are they like the blue guys from Rick and Morty that like duplicate?
Meeseeks.
Yeah.
So she speaks to them. They go crazy. Then she speaks Valyrian, which they apparently understand, or they're just feeding off her vibe. They're fucking hyped. They are about to wreck the rest.
How do they
Any
hear her,
innocents left,
by the way?
they're gonna kill because they are fucking hyped as shit.
They love it when their princess talks and weird speak with that inflection. It just gets them going.
Then like I did think the Tyrion scene throwing down the pen was a strong scene. I enjoyed that scene actually. I did like it. And then that's a lot for me to say. I don't think Tyrion should be alive for like 4 years now. So, so I enjoyed that scene quite a bit. I thought it was cool, and he knew. I thought for a second he was just going to be murdered, and then I remembered plot armor, and he was fine. But then I thought that Jon and his conversation was fine. I thought all of that was good.
Eh.
What
Eh.
are we on the Tyrion John conversation?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the terms of like needing to like push John over into like killing Dany, it worked. As an actual lived experience of like Tyrion literally explaining the show's take on itself to the audience, I was sick of it in like 5 minutes. Like
It was
Sure.
very preachy. It felt super preachy.
it was just like, okay, I get it. And then like it's just hammer me. Like I get it. Love sucks. All these people are crazy because they love something, and acting upon love I guess in the political realm, if you're being generous, is a mistake. So you got to focus on your duty. And yeah, that's great.
I think like the problem with this episode was that it was posthumously explaining everything. Like if they had one more episode before this where they could be like, hey, Dany's believing in her own hype. She's really mad about Cersei. You know, John's, doesn't want to do this. Tyrion's having questions. Like, they could have done this all before we were all like, why the fuck is this character blowing up King's Landing? We have no idea why. And then a week later, they explain why.
Oh, we didn't talk about how buoyant the Lannisters are. That after being piled under fucking thousands of pounds of rocks, Tyrion goes and kicks 3 rocks
It was
aside.
very pretty,
Oh,
though. It was very
the
beautifully
dead
shot.
bodies of my siblings.
Look, my boy Jamie Lannister and his gilded golden hand just knocking that shit back and forth.
Just saying, if Jamie would have never pushed Bran the Broken or made him Bran the Broken, well, we wouldn't have had all this. So
So it's all Jamie's.
seems-
wait, Jamie's
It's-
really the savior we never asked.
Jamie is the savior of everything for sure.
Is Jamie Lannister Azor Ahai?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
It's not John. We were beating over the head with that shit over and over.
It's not Danny either. Let's be clear. Like
It was
fascism,
fun,
the
man.
banner. I also want to be impressed, but like, wow, like subtle, like that. So all right, let's go into because Jesse and I love prophecy, so they did reenact the prophecy from season 2. The snow is
Yes.
blowing through the Iron Throne.
Yep, I said that as I was watching the episode. I did really enjoy that scene a lot.
So they did.
That
They
was-
paid that off. So give
that
them
was cool.
props to that.
I
The-
mean, it was.
In terms of a prophecy, though, like technically, Azor Ahai happened if Azor Ahai is government.
It's all right, Drogon. We already solved this.
Also,
Drogon is Azor Ahai. We already fixed this.
Also, that part was weird. That like John passed Grey Worm just slitting people's throats, and then by the time John gets up there, Grey Worm's just like hanging out, standing at attention. Like,
I don't know.
damn.
I don't know how the
fast.
geography of this episode
Right.
works for a lot of reasons.
He's a lot more aerodynamic now. Like he gets fast.
All right, I guess we should go to what the only emotionally affecting for me scene in the whole show, which was the Danny John stuff. Like, I was literally like, I almost did tear up, and I don't mean
I
this
did.
as like a masculinity thing. Like, I was really like very close to tears because it was just an inversion of everything I wanted. It was like, oh, yay, John and Danny working together to overcome things. Oh, but it's all poison. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's the point, right?
So I cried for a few reasons. I cried because like it was a culmination of like, I know I preached this, like I am completely fine with this show not being the show that I wanted it to be or the story that I wanted told. I've liked other shows and movies that like it's just not how I wanted it to be, and like they could have still told a good story, but to me it was a culmination of like everything that I didn't like. I honestly in that moment felt sympathy for Danny, and like
yeah.
I don't know. It was just that individual scene to me with like Drogon, Danny, and John almost felt like the culmination of 9 years to me. Like all coming together and like my true feelings on the show, whether I liked it or whether I didn't like it or whether the story was ruined or not. And I still don't know how I feel, but I felt a lot of feelings in that moment.
I was excited because I bet my idiot coworkers coffees that John would kill Danny, and I'm fucking getting free coffee this week, boys.
Why would you take that bet? It was so clearly set up last episode.
I know, right?
And I do love John, and I've always wanted the King Arthur story to come true. You know, I mean, Roy and I have talked about that till we're blue in the face, like together, and then on this podcast, like, and it was just the Jon Snow thing to do, and it meant a lot to me that it happened. I just hated that it had to happen that way. I just hated what Danny had become, and this was the final of the story and everything. I just felt everything coming to a close very quickly, and feelings just got caught up to me. And I still think it was a beautiful scene.
Very well acted.
Yes, yeah, I do think that Kit and I will say that this season, as bad as it has been, in my opinion, I think that Emilia has done some really strong acting, which I was not always on board with her after Terminator Genesis. So,
What a beautiful movie.
oh, Alla, kick me in the. Oh God, it just breaks my heart. Just like King Arthur, Jon Snow's a disappointing failure.
They're crediting you there, so you should. Yes, for the King Arthur burn, my love.
But I really did I really did enjoy the scene from the prophecy of the House of the Undying to this the sword through the knife through the chest. I mean, it all felt really good to me. The Drogon scene, it just was cool. It was really cool. Everything after that was downhill to me, but the episode could have ended there and I would have been fine. I wouldn't have cared.
The Drogon scene was just like a little much for me. Like,
I think that it will be a lot better in books than it will be.
Why the fuck did he burn this inanimate object? I don't.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
definitely a
get it.
TV show thing.
Drogon
It was
has
the
more
visual.
emotional
The dragon just-
understanding than anyone in the show.
Dragon just shows up and he's just like, "Oh, my mom's dead. Burn the symbolism." Like,
Hashtag
He
symbolism.
gets it. He gets it. He's a true character now. Like Pinocchio became a real boy, Drogon became a human being in the moment of his mother's death. He understood finally what all this was about.
Bullshit.
He's a fucking lizard. We need to find that lizard and kill it. He's
Hey, look.
the only threat to Bran's rule.
I'm a sucker for animal stuff, so like him sniffing dead Danny and being all sad, like I was like, oh yeah, that got
he
me.
should have been like a true cat and started eating Danny's face.
But we don't know what happened after, like when they flew to Valeria. So like
He probably just dropped her in the street so that the fucking peasants could rip her apart. That's probably what happened.
I mean that is
Brand's
the most,
gonna-
that's the real cat play. Don't even
I will
start
say that-
eating them. Just drop the.
The
Drop
nudge
the
hit
food
me
in
in the
front of
feels
people.
pretty hard. The double nudge from Drogon on Danny hit me in the feels.
It's if you love animals, it's definitely like.
I love animals. I didn't feel fucking anything in that scene.
Rip.
I did for sure.
Rip.
I did for sure.
60% of the time this season, I feel nothing. And 20% of the time, I feel love. And 20% of the time, I feel hate. That's the breakdown.
Yeah, that was definitely probably the emotional high point of the episode.
No, it wasn't mine. That's for sure.
I felt more feels with the land, like Tyrion finding, his siblings dead.
Oh.
Which
I was just happy we got to see
Sad.
Jamie again.
Oh.
I literally am so uninvested in the Lannister sibling bullshit. Like, cause it just doesn't work for me. Like, I was appreciated when Tyrion said out loud that he murdered Shay and murdered Tywin. Like, it's just like
Look,
Tyrion
Roy.
being attached to Lannisters. I'm like, I don't get this.
you're a healthy-minded person with a solid moral foundation. I am not, so I don't have those
No.
kind of qualms. So the Lannisters.
There's only one scene in this entire episode that brought me emotional satisfaction, and it was Brienne finishing Jamie's pages.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that was.
That was the only thing I felt anything for. And even then, I was just kind of like, all right.
I honestly there's gonna be some strong memes from that scene, so
Yeah.
I'm appreciated. But yeah, that scene was very emotional. I didn't. Okay, so I guess after the throne room scene, we go to the 3 weeks later or 70 time. We go to the
beginning of
council.
the Council of Elrond.
Oh, God.
I really
Who are all
wanted
the
to
people
see-
on the council, by the way? Like, there's so many
I-
randos.
What? Quentin
I'll tell you
Martell?
who-
Quentin
I will
Martell's
tell
on
you-
the fucking council.
I will tell you
That's
who's not
Dark
there.
Star. Okay,
I
get
will
it
tell
right.
you who was not there.
have the
Howland
people
motherfucking Reed.
Who knows? It could have been.
Woo!
There was like 3 random people in northern costumes. Maybe one of them was Howland Reed. Who the
It
fuck
wasn't.
knows?
I know.
Look,
Can we
you
also
you said that Howland Reed was going to show up this season. I called you an idiot, and you called me an
Same.
asshole. And who's right?
Look,
I am an idiot, and
I
you are an
choose to
asshole.
believe. I choose to believe that one of those people in a random, interchangeable northern costume was Howland Reed. I'm doing that for you, Jesse. One of those people was Howland Reed.
Norcal.
No, because if if Howland Reed was at that meeting, he would have stabbed Bran through the chest. And this is for you cutting my daughter out of the story.
Alejandro, they didn't have the Iron Throne anymore, so they just gave it to the guy that brought his own chair.
Yeah.
Rip, got him, Ella.
Also, Robin Aaron grew up like 10 years.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
who the fuck
Robin
cares,
Aaron-
man?
And Quentin grew a beard.
But Brandon's or Gilly's baby is still one. Is still in.
Robert Aaron is fucking 36 years old, and little Sam is fucking 1 year old.
I just really wanted
Little
Robin
Sam's
Aaron
little
to be out of
brother
his
is
age,
older.
Just look over and just
Look.
be like, "Is this where we make the little man fly?" Like,
No, man, like that Lisa Aaron's breast milk did some work. That's all I'm
Eventually.
saying.
Oh, maybe Tormund was drinking out of that shit, and like now we know the true story behind Tormund. Fucking hell. It's that Lysa Aaron
Also,
just imports it up north.
I love that they just went full-fledged ahead into like Sansa being a bad like just a badass, just like fucking sassy as shit. Edmure just randomly talking, like I really loved the last 30 minutes of this thing that I love. They just turned into a goofy sitcom. It
We
made
have
me
to appreciate
so
that.
Look,
there's definitely some like
coherent story, but they had
broad
time to shit
humor
on
in this
Edmure one more
episode.
time.
I love that scene because the North may remember, but never forget the Stone.
like Edmure starts talking. They're just like, "Shut the fuck up, sit down."
Ala loved that scene, the Edmure
Um,
scene.
Fuck Edmure. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they remembered Edmure was technically alive. That was.
And then like, so if we're going off of Sansa, Arya, Bran, Brienne, and Davos, the Starks just fixed the fucking election no matter what, either way. So it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And Gendry, who's in love with one of them.
So, like, I don't get it in the sense that they appoint someone to be elected and then they immediately leave the country. Like, why are we listening? Why are we appointing your family member to lead our country?
Because he's got
Also,
cool
like,
superpowers.
The Greyjoys, who already had the deal
They
in
are
place
cool.
to
He
lead
could warg a
themselves
dragon.
and be kings or queens of the Iron Islands again, are like, yeah, this seems fine.
That's
They
true.
get their own.
Yeah.
We'll just bow down to a guy in a wheelchair. Where they literally drown cripples on the Iron Islands.
The problem with preemptively answering the question why aren't the other kingdoms leaving, it's like in the books Asha has a storyline of she wants to be like the green, the farmers, wants to step away from the iron, like the iron price, but that's never established in the show. In the show it's just like I just want to survive and lead the Iron Island, so it makes no sense why
Yep.
they just not
And,
ever.
and why is not Quentin the only leader of the nation that's proven they don't have to submit to the rule of the
That's Darkstar.
of the Iron Throne? He had brown hair and a brown beard. How the
It
fuck
is
he
not-
Darkstar?
Darkstar.
It's not the
Darkstar.
dark. It is not Darkstar, because if they were voting and Darkstar
Look.
was there, instead of saying yes, he would be like, "I am the knight."
He would have had dialogue if he was fucking Darkstar.
Yeah.
Quentin's meek little ass is gonna sit there and wait for all the adults to finish talking, and that's exactly what happened.
He's Darkstar. That's all.
Quentin-
Look, you can't.
Hashtag Quentin made it. Hashtag Quentin
It could be
made
Tristan. Right? No, Tristan. No.
Oh,
No, Tristan
got
loved Marcella,
fucking
right?
gay.
In the show.
No,
I don't even
yeah,
remember what the fucking
Tristan got
storyline
gay
was
for the
anymore.
face.
Tristan got stabbed through the face
Yeah.
with
Lord
a
is
spear.
canceled indeed. my
Yeah,
lord.
Tristan was like, "I'll fight you," and the other one behind his back just stabs his bitch ass.
Remember,
Look,
Jordan?
we all know D&D do not give a shit about Fantasy Spain. Not a surprise.
So we get the council, and then
Okay. The
Bran
last
is weirdly
political.
like, that's the only reason. I mean, that's why I came all this way, which is just he's a puppet master. Bran's a cruel fucking guy.
Bran is Littlefinger 3.0.
Yeah.
Bran is what Littlefinger wishes he could be.
I mean, Bloodraven forever, right?
Yeah,
So, like-
one. Targaryens won, just not the one you thought would
so like,
win.
okay, so does now the king every time have to like become a Jedi master, like
Yeah,
like
so then
Bran
you
did?
just like
is that
so,
what
like,
it is now?
when he
Oh,
starts to
God.
get sick, does he go back to the tree and then just
Yeah.
like teaches someone new?
The problem with like the establishment of like people appointing leaders in Westeros is like if you look at the beginning of the series, every lord and lady and everyone in power was a piece of garbage as well. Like there's no like certainty that you're gonna pick a competent person if you're picking from a trash heap.
Well,
Right.
look, all
It's
I
just
know
weird.
is if you want power, unless you're Bran Stark, you are a piece of shit. So Jon's the least piece of shit because he never wanted power, but he couldn't rule. I don't know because he was sad, and so Bran is a Jedi Master, and so he gets to be a ruler. I don't know.
Okay, so they make this decision that Bran the Broken becomes king, and Tyrion says his name 9 times and hits us in the face with it over and over.
That's what Tyrion's job is in this episode.
And then randomly Bran's like, "Hey, you've only been a piece of shit your whole life and just like ruined the kingdom, but you just have to serve as vice president forever. So just come on, dog.
So
We'll
literally,
just let you live a life. We'll just let you live a life of everything. Come
So-
on, it's fine."
you have been politically successful exactly once in your career, and that was propping up fascism. And then you backed another person that was you were all like, no, she's not a fascist. No, she's great. Oh no, wait, she turned out to
had
be
your
a
best friend-
fascist.
You had your best friend murdered.
Murdered. And then you like convinced the like nice dude who should be king to like murder the fascist so he feels sad and can't be king. You really should be in charge. Like you have a good head on your shoulders. Like that
You're
is
the
definitely
only
what
one
you walk
making-
away from 8 seasons
The
of Game
only
of Thrones.
person making sense is Grey Worm, who's been a cruel motherfucker, who's just like, hey, no, this guy fucked up. Like, we really want to listen to this idiot?
I really hate that Tyrion is still alive.
Oh, me too. It's literally my least favorite thing. I fucking hate him so much. And it's only because Peter Dinklage is such a good actor. That's my true belief, honestly.
He is a good actor.
He is great.
I,
good
for
at
one,
delivering
cannot
monologues.
even, as the show apologist, I can't even explain why Tyrion is handed the king.
It doesn't
Like, why
make
isn't
any
Davos handed the
sense.
king? Like, at least he like survived everything and didn't like fuck up horribly. Like, he always just is like,
We don't even know what Davos is doing.
Here.
he's master of
Tyrion-
ships. That was
He's
Tyrion was
master
groomed-
ships.
Tyrion was groomed to serve Bran since season 1. He built him the saddle.
Oh, got him.
God, this was a
It's
long time by
poetry.
fucking Bran.
Look, Bran can see
poetry and
everything
rhyme.
into the future, so yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. He's
So,
the best hand of the
It was a
king.
long con by Bloodraven. Like, going back to
Yeah.
CT's whole point. Like, really, Bloodraven wins.
Is
So-
Bran even Bran? Is Bran just Bloodraven? Like, is
Bran-
that going to be the
Bran
thing in
is
the
like a
books? Is
Trill.
that he's just taken
So,
over
like,
by
'cause I've been
Bloodraven?
watching a lot of Game of Thrones, or watching a lot of Deep Space Nine. He's a Trill. He is both Bloodraven and Bran together.
Yeah. Alright.
So he's really Bran Raven. So there we go.
I just think
I
that
don't-
I think that Bloodraven found that chemical from Detective Pikachu, and he's switching bodies and stuff now. So
Spoiler alerts, I have not seen Detective Pikachu. Sir.
How dare you spoil this
How dare you
Pokemon
spoil
movie.
Detective Pikachu? That fucking piece of art that I've been waiting for years. Like, does he fucking solve the crime? Does Detective Pikachu solve the fucking crime, Jesse?
Are you saying
Does
that
he?
next week- Are you saying
Does he
next
use Squirtle to help him? Does he use fucking Bulbasaur? Like, who cares
week-
about
Are you saying next
Squirtle?
week's Detective Pikachu episode of Watchers on the Couch?
I
is
want to see that
canceled?
movie, but who cares? Like, does Detective Pikachu fucking solve the crime? I'm sorry.
oh my god. All right, so we get to the council. It's the biggest pile of shit ever. Somehow they elect the only cripple there, and then he's like, "Yeah, I knew it all along."
My only question for like the small council is how do the other maesters feel about someone who is never a maester like a year ago being their archmaester?
Yeah, he has one fucking ring on his thing. He has one, and they're like Archmaester Tarly,
Oh, Grandmaster Tarly.
Grandmaester.
Grandmaster Tarly.
All right, and then the council. Apparently, Braun is the richest guy in the world now, and he just gets to choose. It's just a big joke.
You guys,
Brienne is
you guys already talked about the book?
I
Oh
guess we could,
No.
no!
yeah.
What book? What?
The
It was-
Song of Ice and
What?
Fire.
What?
I thought that was going to be a cool scene, and it was just fucking awful.
Oh.
It was a little too on the nose with the fucking Lord of the Rings.
I would totally read the version of that story without Tyrion at all. I just want to know what happens. Like, how the fuck
I
did we
don't
get to
think-
where we're at?
But honest to goodness, how do you tell the story without Tyrion? Like
Exactly.
literally, like I'm like, wait, what?
Do you need to? Like he's just an advisor. He doesn't actually do anything.
But he is actually like he murders Tywin, which is actually an important turning point in the story.
Yeah, because
I read the words where Tywin survived.
No, he died shitting. Like he don't.
He was
No,
assassinated
Oberyn
by
Martell.
his son.
He succumbs to Oberyn's poison. If Tyrion
Exactly,
doesn't shoot him with
confirmed.
Kills,
crossbow.
well, Shay's not important if you're writing a political history, right?
okay, so I guess let's talk about Brienne and the White Book.
Okay.
I
I
agree.
cried.
He should be dead, Alan.
Weep like a baby.
Brienne and the White Book was a very good scene.
It was good.
The only scene I felt anything. That's for sure.
I loved it. It was really cool.
The only thing I could think of during the scene was, wouldn't this be better if they hadn't had sex?
Probably.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Brienne
Like,
doesn't
wow.
but Brienne doesn't have anything to mope about. So all the characters have to be mopey and unhappy. If Brienne
But
doesn't
she
get
can still
laid
be-
and then dumped, she doesn't have anything to mope about.
She could
That's
still
fair.
be mopey about having like
She
her
could've-
friend
she could've-
and the person she respects dead.
She could
She
mope about how
could've
she never got to
confessed-
bang Jamie. That's all.
She could have confessed
Yeah,
her love
sure.
to Jamie. Jamie be like,
Well,
"I respect
period.
you. I love you, but I love Cersei. I've got to go back to her." And that
Also,
would've
can we
made more
rewind
sense.
for back 1 minute where we found out Podrick Payne is a Kingsguard?
Yeah!
Fucking character payoff.
Every
Oh, man.
every brothel worker in Westeros wept.
Oh, oh my god.
I mean, he doesn't have to stay true to his vows.
Nobody does. But apparently brothels are the first thing that's going to be rebuilt. Except for apparently the Red Keep, which has been completely rebuilt in...
Yeah.
But
Besides the
Well,
crack in
Brothel Chamber
Westeros.
looks fine.
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay, so we get
That whole council scene was just a fucking, like, shit show of... Just, it's like, okay, we're
And did
really
we
going to
ever-
end this on a
did we
joke.
have to call back to
About-
the honeycomb and the brothel fucking thing.
Of
Like,
course they did. Like that was true to the show in a way. It was true to everything I didn't like about the show from day one.
Yes,
Even when I was the
absolutely.
biggest fucking mark for the show, like it's like of course they're just gonna like remember it kind of always sucked from the beginning. Like stick the
Like
stick the
I
knife
don't know
in.
why you guys are disappointed. The show sucks since Oberyn Martell. Like it's
No.
always been
But what
shitty.
that final scene said is no, it always sucked from the beginning, Maddie. Always.
always.
Like when I made a movie for Film and Video 11, and it was
So we
terrible.
get this send-off for Jon,
I know, no one can hear me.
right?
I ended it with a scene where people are talking and you pulled away and slow fade out. That's a severe condemnation of everything that happened in that scene.
We could have had the Sopranos ending right then and there.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I mean, to be fair to Game of Thrones, and like I've been really harsh on this episode. Compared
just gonna be
to
a s-
other shows that I've loved that have utterly failed in the finale, like Lost, Sopranos, although I did not love The Sopranos by the time it ended. Anywhere
The
near.
last season was rough.
So Sopranos, 6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under finale was amazing.
What's wrong with 6 Feet Under?
I came to hate 6 Feet Under by the time it ended.
Oh,
I love
6
the
Feet Under
ending
is one
of
of the
6 Feet
only
Under.
endings I absolutely love.
True Blood was disgusting and bad.
You
Dexter-
finished True Blood, you idiot.
Like,
Should have gave up. Should have gave up after Russell, bud. He was the only
but,
important
like,
part of the
Battlestar
show.
Galactica, I think Battlestar Galactica was the lowest moment of a thing that I was really invested in, and it came to the
I'm
finale.
glad I never
I am
loved
the
it.
only person I know that likes the ending to Battlestar Galactica.
All right, where's the hang up button? Let me get Discord. Like, why did we let him on?
I
this
just,
fucking
I
show?
just in every show for the rest of my life, I just want Feeny turning off the lights, just saying class dismissed
Oh jeez.
forever.
God,
Not
I hate-
Never get it again.
Oh, How I Met Your Mother. Thank you, Phantom Space Person. That fucking ending of
That's
How I Met Your
Parker.
Mother. Oh god, fuck that. Like, so Game of Thrones is not as bad as that either. So like, as far as things that I've cared about a lot that have not ended in ways that I have felt satisfied with, definitely Thrones is on the top of that heap. Like at the end of the day, I was
just
just
like-
numb. Like, I was
Okay,
like,
so
okay, this is where we're ending. This is what we're doing. Cool.
Because it's my favorite. He's my favorite character. Like, all right. So he's one of my favorite characters. So let's talk about Jon and the sending off the North. So like, a lot of people that I was watching with didn't agree with the Arya thing. That made perfect sense to me. Like, I get that Arya is gonna go somewhere else
Yeah.
and explore. Like, that makes sense to me. I don't care. Like, she'll survive through anything. So, she's got more plot.
I refuse to accept that Arya does not die in the books. Well,
Yeah, me too. Arya
her
becomes a
body does
wolf,
not.
and the scene with Nymeria. But I'm just saying, in the show, Arya has
The
more
whole-
plot armor than
well,
Rey.
the fact that they literally ship her off to nowhere just says we didn't know what to do with Arya after we decided to change her arc.
She
And
should
how-
have died fighting the Night King, like really. But they wanted to pay Maisie Williams for 3 more episodes, so
She really didn't do fucking shit for the rest of it.
Exactly. You can absolutely feel that she wasn't even supposed to be in the story.
She threatened Yara. She said if you.
Yeah, she did.
So
Am I
John
wrong?
gets
Okay.
sent north, which doesn't like I don't. Okay, whatever. There's no point in him being sent north. Like it would have even made more sense to me if they were like, we don't want to kill you because you did save the world, but you were exiled from the Seven Kingdoms. Like you have to go north of the wall. That would have even made more
I
sense.
mean, that's kind of what they did, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like at the
Is-
end,
But
Isn't
then
the
why?
implication that like the magic is gone, the wall will melt when spring comes? Like the north, like the lands of always winter won't be a thing anymore, right? Like they're
Correct.
gonna settle the north.
Can I just say I'm just so happy there wasn't like there always has to be a Lich King moment. Like that would have just like made me so mad.
oh yeah, that
Like,
would have been
people-
really
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah, it seems like magic.
I didn't
is
think the
not
show
in
was
this
gonna go
shit
there.
anymore.
I think the show was like so done with the supernatural shit. Like
Yeah.
when the Night King died, they were like, oh thank fucking god. Oh, we
Yeah.
can
Well,
kill
David-
one of these
David-
I'm
dragons.
surprised they didn't
and
show
it's
the
just
wall just come down, like just fall apart, and just be like, we're done with it. We're done with this shit.
I feel like John's ending was like when he looked back and then looked forward, it was like he's not going back to the Night's Watch. Like it was just kind of like this is the moment that John's like fuck it, like this is where I belong. I felt like it was just like at the end of the day, like if you're trying to give it a charitable reading, it was just Bran and Sansa and everyone just like giving John an out, where it was just like this is like he can't stick around, so like
He can't stick
like-
around, even though Grey Worm just left on a boat to never come back.
The thing
Yeah,
is,
he could just do
literally,
whatever he wanted.
he comes across the neck, and then he's literally like, "Okay, no more jurisdiction. Like I can do whatever the
Yeah,
fuck
he-
I want." What is Grey Worm going to sail from north just to track down Jon Snow? Like,
Also, I have to say, I'm so happy Grey Worm is definitely dead, because if he's going to live on Narth, where he can't live, because the people who aren't native to Narth can't eat the food in Narth without dying from poison, right?
Well, I think he's just going there to free the slaves. That's the
All
point.
All right, but if he eats some cranberries, he's fucking toast.
I hope so. I wanted John to kill him at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see Grey Worm survive the episode. Like I thought he would
yeah.
find John and Danny and they would have to fight.
I thought the Narth. Everybody said the Narth thing was so corny, but it's like it's not that it's corny; it's impractical. I mean, obviously it's a show; they're not paying any attention to the lore, but like they literally can't live in Narth. They can't live happily ever after there. He's not from there. Everyone who goes to Narth dies because they're not native to there. Like that's a thing, right? Wasn't that a thing?
I don't know the name.
It is in the world of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, I was like, I know I read somewhere that like people from Narth can't live in Narth, or people who aren't from Narth can't live in
Yeah,
Narth.
that's how it works.
I'll back you up, CT.
That's what I thought. So let's just hope Grey Worm goes there. Is like, oh, cranberries.
I mean,
and
I
just
guess he's
fucking
supposed
crunch.
to like it's him fulfilling his promise, right? He promised
Yeah.
Missandei that he would protect them, and that's what he's gonna do, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
look in the fan fiction, there's no poisonous berries in there.
Fair.
Snozberries taste like snozberries.
They
There's
do.
snozberries
I wish I
everywhere.
had a hams right now, Jesse.
It's 16 ounce and it is going down smooth after that bullshit.
Oh my god. Just
I might take a bath and
so
drink whiskey and listen to Elliott Smith. It's finally over. It's time to end it, boys.
I mean, like, I guess emotional high point of the episode is like the Sansa being Queen of the North. Like, and like it kind of breaks my heart that the show uninvested me in that. Like, that
Agreed.
is something like if you had asked me fucking 2 seasons ago, I would have been like, yes, Sansa Queen of the North. That's so amazing, awesome. But now I'm like, all right, cool.
Dude, like, okay,
I
so
just
that is
can't,
one
I
of the
can't work
broad
myself
strokes.
to be like paid off by it. Which like
So-
and
That
Sansa
is
was
one
my
of the
favorite
broad
character for a
strokes
long
that I do
time.
believe- that is 100% one of the broad strokes that I do believe will happen.
Yeah.
In the books, and like I am so excited about the journey there. I love Sansa. I absolutely love her. Like I am so excited to see how George gets her there. And like, because I even enjoyed it with fucking D&D writing it. So like, I'm excited to see what George does.
So for me, like I would have been a lot more happier with the end of Sansa's arc if there was comeuppance between Jon and Sansa. If at the end, when they're finishing off Sansa and Jon's relationship, Jon was like, "No, I can't forgive you. Like this is like you plotted to get you have your independence now. You got what you want, but I can't be your brother. Like I'm
But
done with you."
So there might actually be that in the books though, right? Because like
If that's how Sansa becomes
that
Queen of
Aegon
the
will not
North,
have
like,
to
we
be the
don't-
other Aegon.
We don't know. I mean, the problem is because there's this Aegon plot that has to be resolved in the books. that is like related to what's gone on in the show, but not what happened in the show, it's like very difficult to read specifically like what the political situation is going to be, which is why like I'm still a believer in the like King's Landing shit is dealt with before the White Walker stuff, or like in the books. Like it's just like Aegon is like a novel's worth of bullshit that Dany has to deal with, and getting to Aegon at the very least, even if she burns him in 5 minutes, like that is gonna eat up so many pages of Winds of Winter. For then, like, unless Aegon is unless you just trade Aegon and Cersei, like where Dany lands, she's like, oh, Jon's hot, let's go and save the world. Then I'm gonna deal with Aegon. Like maybe that's what the books do, but
I feel like King's Landing has to be first. Plus, the White Walker plot is moving so much.
Plus, there's a Euron plot that is very different. Like,
and Euron is tied to the White Walkers, and that feels like a later issue than the Aegon issue, as well. So
also,
I don't agree. I think
the faceless men, I don't know, trying to kill a dragon and shit.
Maybe, yeah.
I think the books I like the show are more interested in the man versus man element, not the man versus other existential conflict. So I think that a lot more King's Landing stuff will be wrapped up before they fight the others in the books, but not to the.
But at the same time, there is still a human element of conflict with the White Walkers. Like if you believe that Euron is tied to the White Walkers eventually in that storyline, like there is a human villain there.
That's another very important.
And George has promised us much clearer, like traditional fantasy answers about like the origins of the White Walkers, rather than the like vague answers we got in the show, which is like the children made the White Walkers, which okay, and then you had to watch an after the episode interview to understand like why they made the White Walkers, because it's not really clear in the source material. So
that's not satisfying because it's just what you thought it would be. It's just like, oh well, they had problems with the men, but like, okay.
Even though the official time, like that timeline doesn't work in the books, though.
Yeah, it does not at all.
Yeah, the show doesn't deal with like the Great Other, like the the Heart of Winter or anything like that. So there's gonna be a lot more fantasy because D&D wanted to make this show because of the Red Wedding. They didn't want to make the show because there's dragons and shit. Like they hate that part of it. Obviously, they hate it because they hate the direwolves. So, like
they're much more interested in making medieval Sopranos than they are in making like.
I'll never forget that inside the episode. They're like, "Oh, we did it. We got there. We got to the Red Wedding," and I'm like, you still have like fucking thousands of pages to adapt. Why are you acting like you're done? Well, they were done. They were fucking done. That's for sure.
So
no, I think they were done. To be honest, they were done after Oberyn died, like that, and Tyrion murdered.
Yeah. They knew they still had cool shit to mine after the Red Wedding, but it's like once they got to the Red Wedding, they're like, all right, we're on autopilot.
As soon as they didn't do the Tysha thing, they're like, we're not interested in dealing with complicated storytelling.
Because you might forget that Tysha's the thing, or confuse Osha and Asha.
It's true.
Both of those one of those characters ended up mattering all the way to the end of the show. The other didn't. Was it the one whose name they changed, or was it the one that they? Whatever.
Then why wasn't Bronn's name changed? Bronn is very close to Bran.
It's true, and Bran's the true hero. So he is Azor Ahai.
Or so the true villain.
Bronn should have been like Brian.
Look, man. All the people that you thought were heroes are actually villains, Jesse, and then all the people you thought were villains are actually heroes.
Except Bloodraven. We thought he was a villain, and he was a fucking villain.
No, he's a hero. He's a hero. Like,
got there.
Bran's a hero.
He's my hero.
No, Drogon is the hero. I've been over this. No,
really, Cersei's the hero. Like that's what I learned at the end. It's just like if you had just like let her rule, like cool, like she was fine.
Like if Cersei ended on the throne, I would have been like Citizen King, like just clapping.
I mean, she didn't piss the people off enough to revolt after she blew up the fucking religion of the city. So I guess she's not that bad.
No, she can't be that bad. Like. Of course,
I think their religion had a really big problem with like drinking and whoring. The poor
and that's
people
really
in
what
King's
common
Landing,
people care about.
Yeah, they're like,
and the lords and ladies. So if everyone
Yeah,
loves whoring, that's an issue that you could create consensus around in Westeros.
They
Whoring.
love whoring, they love drinking, they love gambling.
And that
They
unites
just want to.
Martin
They just want
and
to roll
D&D.
some dice at a
Wasa
bar.
Turos? Is it Wasa Turos?
Oh, got him. Got him.
Except the whoring part. All the guys in Wasa are scared to talk to girls.
Oh, rip. Oh,
Oh,
got
bitches.
him. Oh, Jesse.
Well, I'm
lay it-
included there. It's fine.
Hey, how did it feel climbing down from Drogon after you burned Was out of the ground? Damn, son.
Oh,
I
no
love
wonder
Wasa.
Wasa's population is shrinking. It wasn't disinvestment. It wasn't like the Midwest, like this chronic change in our political economy that's really damaged. Nope. It's just they're too afraid to talk to girls. The Wasa problem. Oh,
God.
man.
We call it the wedge. We go to the bar. You can't get in there. It's hard to get in.
Oh my god. Why am I out of beer?
Uh,
No, no whiskey. But yes.
All right, so we made it through that. I guess then we get fuck. What else is there? God, it was
we
so-
basically talked through
that
it.
was it. I mean, that was it.
Oh yeah, they walk north.
They
A dream-
pet
a
the
dream
dog.
spring,
Pet-
dog.
There are,
Pet
yeah, we see
his
see
dog.
Ghost get petted. And
was-
apparently,
that-
they still can't afford good CGI because it was awkward. He was missing an ear and shit.
Well, he was missing an ear in the previous episodes. Like that's the like
Are you-
battle
are you-
damage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know why it wasn't damaged to Ghost? Like they just didn't CGI the ear because they're like, nope, we're out. That's it. The last $6 on the show we have.
It was like the Sonic thing. It's like, oh, we fucked up. We'll fix it. We're gonna fix it. It's like, and all the animators are like, wait, what?
Did
We're
you-
gonna fix it?
All right, I have an honest question. Did you guys enjoy the silent ending, or like, did you want to hear John and Tormund talk?
I'm fine.
I think if John and Tormund talked at the end, it would be like the ending to a comedy because he'd be
Well,
like
because
talking
we
about.
saw what happens when they talk at the end to build that map. Like it
Yeah.
ends up being about whores and brothels.
it's not bittersweet if they talk. Then it's just fucking goofy, right?
Yeah.
Look, John is Mance Raider 2.0. I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is going to lead a revolt. You see all those kids? You'll never love. You'll never father children. Oh, there'll be some more Targaryens. He's about to craster this shit up.
There's nothing more Targaryen than the Craster lifestyle.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Craster fucking foreshadowed John's ending all along.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, it all comes around.
Maybe they could fill in Ghost's ear with the Starbucks cut copy that they digitally removed from the dinner stand.
Oh my
All right. So, as much as salt as there has been, I will say that like I want to go over some final thoughts on the show as a whole. So we made it through 73 episodes. Is that right?
Mhm.
I don't know if we made it, but
Did they-
there were-
they
there
would
was-
We
Even
did.
extended
No,
to
no, that's
75
literally
episodes?
we
That's-
made it.
That's
We
kind of
made
sad.
it. And
When you get to 75 episodes, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's not make it to. Let's not make it. We're at 73. Let's not make it to 75.
I'm pretty sure like everyone on this cast, we started with season 1, episode 1, the night of release. Correct?
More or
Mhm.
less, yeah.
No, I didn't start the show until
You were late, right? And you didn't read the books until after-
season one. It's like season one had been out for a couple, like it had been done for a couple months, and then I watched it, and then I read all the books, and then I was
okay. And Maddie, you had read the books before?
Yep, dog.
Yep, me too.
hmm
Roy, what about you?
The show was announced, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I'm gonna read all the books, and then I made it through the 3rd book by the time the show aired,
Okay,
and then yeah,
because
right?
it was hyped for a while before the show was released.
Yeah.
Dance of Dragons came out like right when the first season came out. I read Dance of
It
Dragons
came out like a
in,
month before it.
Yeah, in one sitting. I read
Yep.
Dance. Of
I know I was all in. I know I was all in by the season 2 premiere, and I had read all the books by that point.
Because
Yeah,
I remember when they announced the show. They announced the show that they were signing it, and the first casting announcement was Sean Bean as Ned.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I'd been reading the book so long time, I was like, this is gonna fucking suck for a lot of idiots.
And that never changed. End of
Uh,
episode.
It did. So like, you know, I don't feel like it's coming. I feel a sense of closure because I think we will get book 6. I think book 7 will be hard. I'm going to be honest. But I've been heavily invested into this world of Ice and Fire. Not the book. I've been heavily super invested into this world of Ice and Fire since I was 11 or 12, like 6th grade is when I started reading the first book, and that was 12 or 13 years after the first book was released, like maybe longer, because it came out in 94, right? Or 92. I can't remember.
Like 91, 92, I thought.
Game of Thrones came out
yeah,
1991.
1991. Okay, so before I was born.
Wow, you're fucking young.
Wait, what?
But like, I was born in 92, Roy.
God damn.
I'm ending the show now. Like, that's just too much for me, Jesse.
But like, I will say, like, it's been my favorite. I mean, like, it's been my favorite series. 1996 is when the first book came out. Okay, so let's not get out.
Oh yeah, you were definitely alive for that.
All right, I was alive then. Okay, so I started reading it in 2004. So I mean, I was 8 years late, but like, I feel like it's been a majority of my life, and it's been my favorite series. And even though it did not end the way I wanted it to, like, I did enjoy the journey for the most part until this season. Like, and I do think there are a lot of highlights with the show. I think it's some of the best acting I've ever seen. Honestly, throughout a show, I still think even when the writing was bad, I thought the acting was really, really strong. I appreciated everything. Like, I do appreciate it. Outside of Dave and Dan, I appreciated everything that they gave us. I did love it. I still love it as a show. It definitely went from like top 3 shows to like top 15 maybe. Just because it wasn't the story that I wanted told, but I did enjoy the journey, honestly. I just want the books now even more. I think it definitely made me feel that like I need George to prove to me that the books will be good again. I need that proven to me because this has been so bad.
Yeah. So for me, I will always be grateful for what the show gave me, because I mean nominally, like, the show and the books, like, I only really started reading the books because of the show. I tend to be skeptical when people tell me that something is a dark fantasy. I tend to be like, oh, that's gonna fucking suck. And almost every time people are like, no, Roy, you'll like it, and then I read it, I'm like, nope, this fucking sucks. And so Game of Thrones was like the first dark fantasy novel that I really enjoyed as an adult, and the fandom, of course, like, has changed my life for the better. I would not be sitting here when I have to get up for work, and the dog and cat will wake me up in 6 hours so I can go to work.
I would not be flying to Philadelphia for a wedding of 2 people I love without picking up that book in 6th grade.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to be inviting all these degenerates to your wedding.
Yeah, I mean, it changed my life for the better, and this fandom was here for me in a really, really dark time of my life that, like, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't have it. But, like, and as far as, like, the context of the show itself, I definitely feel better about it than other fandoms that it has ended poorly. Like, I mean, the best example was brought up in the chat is How I Met Your Mother, which was, like, 4 years, like, one of my favorite shows. And I was invested in it as a comedy. I wanted to watch episode after episode because it was funny. But also, like, I was invested in, like, how, like, the central mystery that they set up, like, How I Met Your Mother. And then the answer they gave me pissed me off so much. And I like that I just shut that part of my life off. And I was like, that wasn't a show I watched. And then it was opened up for me again. And, like, you could just see in my voice how angry I am about that fucking final episode of How I Met Your Mother, and that whole fucking final season is just piece of shit garbage. Like, I don't have at this point. I just don't have that anger anymore, like, towards Game of Thrones. Like, as angry as I was when Jesse and I did our episode last week, I'm just, like, numb to it. And so it's like I'm not where I was for other fandoms like Lost, Battlestar Galactica, and a lot of that has to do with just the people that I've come to know through the fandom. Yep. Like, honest to goodness, like, I feel like if I wasn't as invested in the fandom, this would have landed even worse for me than it did. And so I'm just grateful for what the show and the books have given me in my life, and that's my takeaway, really, at the end of the day from the show.
I think it's important for people who are fans of the books and the show not to tie them together. Like, don't let your opinion of George's work influence either your opinion of Dan's or vice versa. So, like, for me, like, I've never let it influence it. It's one of my favorite fantasy series. I think George is like a genius in world building that I didn't see before. But in terms of the show, I've thought it sucks since season 5. Like, I thought it was trash since
As soon
season
as they
5, and
killed
that's
the
why.
rightful ruler of the Seven Kingdoms.
I mean,
dog.
the joke is
Well,
season
yeah, as
2 was
soon
kind of
as-
shitty too, guys. Like,
As soon, yeah, but like it came back up in season 3 and season 4. But the thing is, like, the way they handled Stannis tempered my expectations falling from that. Like, they
You're
didn't
correct.
give the a character that I felt deserved a way better ending. At least, like, if you're gonna kill him off well. And from there, I like when people complained about the shows from years on. I was like, "What do you expect?" Like, I would literally say, "Time to suffer for 10 weeks and watch this show," and
We loved
and
it.
so. And when we got to season 8, like, everyone was complaining. Jesse was like, "I hate my life. Life is over. Jon is in Azor Ahai," and I'm just like, "What did you expect? Like, temper your expectations." Like, we had
It was
clear-
tough for me because I had my expectations tempered, but again, I will say that, like, it was episode 3 was the hardest episode for me for sure, because it showed me that, like, and I think this is what's gonna ring true in the books as well. I think it will be good, but it's not the story I want told. And that
Like-
was really hard for me to come to realization that I was wrong, and I've been wrong for 15 years.
yeah.
I think my reply succinctly is read Brandon Sanderson if you want that.
Oh.
I love Brandon Sanderson, so
Yeah,
I'm
but
fine
that's
with
what-
that.
That's what you get. Like, I read Brandon
Correct.
Sanderson too, but like that's not what the
You were absolutely correct, and then, like, I'm good with that. But it was a hard realization for me, and I think the hard realization being told by D&D and not being told by George was a lot harder for me, overall. But, like, yeah, the show, like, there were still parts that I loved in seasons 5, 6, and 7. But honestly, one of my best friends on the entire planet, who I came to love through this game, I believe CT and I literally became best friends on a 10-hour car ride to a tournament when we talked about the show, and our biggest complaint was the death of Stannis. And that's when I fell in love.
The season
Uh,
of endless rape and death of Stannis was
It just broke my heart.
there was nothing just
And
of
all these
value in
people
that season.
think
'Cause,
that,
right,
like,
it was
all
the
these
Jaime
people
Cersei
think that,
rape
like,
scene
I-
was in that season, right?
Yep.
like you thought
Stan-
Sansa got like demoralized in that season. It was Stannis, really.
I'm actually I'm pretty sure Jamie Cersei was season 4 because it was right after Joffrey's death, and that was episode 2 of season.
Maybe you're right.
No, wasn't I thought it was the was it? Was that in season 4?
That was season 4.
It was
Yeah, it was
season 4. Like the whole Cersei Jamie like sex in the Scepter debacle. I don't blame them because they missed the context of how it happened in the books.
Mhm.
There's no he had
Right.
time to do that. Like it was a mess, but I wasn't mad about that.
Like that to me I was mad about that because that was like sitting where we are now. That is the warning. That's like the warning sign that just a bunch of shit's just not going to get handled well.
But then Oberyn Martell was in the next scene. I'm just like, yeah, I'm on board.
Was he like? The timeline of this just doesn't. I guess that's true.
Season 4, the cracks were definitely there, and like after the Red Wedding, it started to look bleak. But
The
For
cracks
me-
showed
for
up
me-
as soon as Talisa showed up in Rob's.
yeah, well, that's the thing. But the thing was, like, there's a certain amount I can forgive, and like everybody knows, like I'm super critical of the show. The second Jamie lets Tyrion out of the cell, the show's dead to me after that. But like I could forgive the way Stannis was handled. I can forgive Talisa being introduced. You know, there's like
Well, they had an understandable explanation for Talisa because they said they didn't want people to see the Red Wedding coming because that was so important to them.
Right.
Which
But they could have
pissed
picked
me
a
off.
Like,
No,
they could have picked a
no,
reasonable
no,
person.
no. I'm sorry, I gotta rant about this. They could have just fucking adapted Jane Westerling with and just changed the order in which things fucking happen. Like the Talisa
Yes.
fucking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
storyline does not make any fucking sense on its face.
She couldn't
I
be a nurse. She couldn't be a nurse, and she couldn't be from fucking Essos. That shit is. I call
Sorry,
bullshit on that for sure.
Can I just ask, why does Jane Westerling tip their hand about the Red Wedding?
Because all the like mother being sketchy and like all the foreshadowing that George does with the Westerlings that you like kind of pick up on the first time you read it, but if you read it like on the second or third,
If you read it a second time, you're like, oh, Rob's dead.
fuck,
Yeah.
Rob.
Fucking
Right.
dead.
There's no way they could have translated that shit into a TV show without it being too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was going to
Well,
be
like, and the thing is, like, it's even obvious at the end of the second book when, like, the last Arya chapter in Harrenhal, the phrase, like, find out about what Rob did, and, like, all these birds are being sent, and Roose is up in
Mhm.
his fucking office writing all night.
right.
Like, it's
And in
like,
hindsight, that's
you're
why
like,
they
the
had Tywin
second read
instead
through,
of
you're like,
Roose.
oh, Rob's
Because if it had been,
fucked.
yeah, if it had been Roose instead of Tywin, people would have seen it coming. So that's why they changed it to Tywin. Like, some of the changes made sense. Like, there's a lot of early season fuckery that like you can forgive, but like, yeah, like season 4 is really where it started to fall apart.
I think, like, I don't mind if you change like the small strokes of the story, like changing Talisa,
You have to
James
adapt
and
it to
Talisa.
tell
but
it.
changing the broad strokes, like changing Jamie and Tyrion's relationship post Storm of Swords,
Mhm.
like removing like as soon as they like Aegon and John Kyneton didn't show up, I'm like, well, fuck, John Kyneton's the coolest guy ever. Why isn't he in this story? And it just fucks everything else up.
Hey, remember the greatest knight that ever lived? How about if he gets ganked by a bunch of harpies in a dark alley somewhere?
Lady Stoneheart doesn't exist.
I remember
could
watching
never
the
wrap my
season
head
4. I remember watching the season 4 finale in a theater, and I'm like, last scene's gonna be Lady Stoneheart, and then Arya shows up, and I yelled out in the theater, "Where the fuck's Lady Stoneheart?"
And I can never wrap my hand around why the fucking gods of shock value just decided that adapting Stoneheart was corny. Like,
So-
and that was always their justification, right? And it's just like,
Yes,
shit.
absolutely. My biggest plea, if you're listening to this show, and you've listened to any episode, but you listen to this episode specifically, hear my plea. If you don't understand why we're salty, or don't understand why we're upset, read the books. Try them. They are good. They are as good as we say. George is that talented, and D&D did fuck it up that bad. It is not us being assholes.
Yeah, I don't want to hear one more person say, like, oh, it's not the story you wanted. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter how it ends. I have no qualms about how the show
Like
ended.
the thing
How
I
the show
enjoyed
got there.
the last episode was because I called a lot of things correctly, and so
That's
it
like-
is the story I wanted. It's just it was told really
Whether-
badly.
Yeah, whether the story is what you wanted or what you didn't want, like, it's not satisfied how we got there in any
And like,
imagination.
watching the show does not do it just. The show is solid on its own. It is great at points, but I'm telling you, these books are fantasy masterpieces. Like George is insane at what he does, and the world building of Westeros in a book is it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's really good. I'm not saying George is perfect, but he is.
Three
And
fronts,
I-
three.
And I don't
thrusts.
fucking read fantasy. I have
Those-
never read
One,
fantasy,
two,
but I love these books. Like,
I am a fantasy mark, so I. But George is good at what he does, man, and like the development of these characters, like you fall in love with them, and like rereading the books after watching the show makes you appreciate it even more. Honestly, truly, I think so. Noah has a quick question. Okay, so the end of the podcast, the plans of the channel. So this is Roy's channel. I think Roy will be a part of it. I don't know how often we will do things because we're both involved in other podcasts, but we will. I think we're going to try to do like pop culture stuff from now and then. You know, I
Yeah.
do think we're going to do that.
New Watchmen's coming out, Roy.
Fuck that noise. As I said in our was it the Lances
mean-
chat or the spoilers
Spoilers
chat?
chat.
Yeah.
sign me
But-
up for the Fuck the Watchmen show fucking petition as well.
Oh man, CT and I just endlessly hating on the Watchmen, like why Matt and Jesse are marks. Like that
I love
sounds.
it.
That might actually get me to
Sounds like a
watch the
show.
Watchmen show because I fucking hate everything about it. So-
Okay, I am super down to cover Watchmen.
Let's
But
do
we'll
it.
see. We'll
I'll
see.
watch it.
It's gonna
Fuck it.
take some emotional lifting to get me to fucking watch that show. Like the guy who did Lost doing a Watchmen adaptation is like, Ala just yelled in the back. Like that's That is like
This is the real thing. We gotta get Ala on as a 5th cast member.
we can get Ala on as a 5th cast person. I'll be Mr. Montgomery soon enough. So.
But I
If there's
So-
any weight and substance to that documentary that HBO is putting out about the wrap of the last season, like I will probably want to talk about that as well.
yeah, I would be down to do an episode of the documentary.
Yeah,
I
I mean the problem
feel-
is
I
that it
feel
literally
like
comes
it's-
out of my wedding, and I'm not doing any content stuff for like a couple of weeks after that. So.
That's fair.
Uh,
But I'm sure I will have a stronger emotional reaction to seeing the
We're
end
not
of the
live
show
streaming
being
for this.
made.
Well, I think we could do an episode 2 to 4 weeks after it because I don't think people are gonna watch the documentary the minute it comes out like an episode.
Yeah,
we should
I
give
will.
them. I mean, I will for sure.
Like,
well,
have
no,
you guys
won't, 'cause
ever
you'll be at
seen
my
the?
wedding? So.
I will be at your wedding.
Have you ever guys seen the making of the Hobbit movies?
Oh, I guess I'll be in California. So
All right,
we need
time to
do it.
kick Matty out. He was cool for an episode.
Yeah. So the honest question about this channel in particular, yeah, I like doing like a Thrones community pop culture cast on occasions. It does sound like something that'd be really fun. Like
we really haven't discussed it, honestly.
we haven't discussed it, but selfishly, because it is my channel, like so, I think I'm gonna try and stream like when on releases of big stuff. I want to start streaming some gameplay. Like I really enjoyed the post Greyjoy box stream that Glazer and I did, and doing some miscellaneous stuff on this channel. I might try doing like live How and the Why of It videos. And some other stuff like that I'm gonna experiment with over the summer. But for the short term, this is sort of the last piece of Thrones content that I'll be doing for like 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll probably be back on the White Book like the first week in June, maybe the second week in June.
Whatever our episode is.
Yeah, whenever. Our episode is the week after, the Tuesday after my wedding, so I won't be
Right.
then. So yeah.
I won't be either because I'm going on the honeymoon with Roy and Ella.
Yep, definitely. The honeymoon of Al and I chilling at home because I have to work on Wednesday because that's the end of the school year. So,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, rip indeed. So I'll be just sort of like doing personal life stuff, so I won't really be around as much of the community. But in the run up to Dance with Dragons 4 and stuff like that here in Philly,
And whether we do it on this episode or not, or whether we do it on this channel or not, or whether I do it with people or without, I will definitely be doing post episodes like this over the Expanse season 4. I don't even know if
are they
people
doing
on
it 1
this-
week at a time or just releasing the whole thing?
If not, I'll do an episode for every episode. But I do love the Expanse. It is one of my favorite series for sure. So
It's
I will be doing that. And if you're curious, I am just as big of a book fan of those as this, so I will be
I have
salty.
mixed
I'm sure.
feelings towards the Expanse series. So some of the books are really good. Some of them are kind of garbagey. So
Yeah.
uh,
Agreed. I
Um,
still love it.
yeah, that's fine. Like I tend to go in spurts. I think I have half of one read, like not the most recent, the one that came out in 2018.
Sure.
The aliens haven't invaded yet. Oops, spoilers. So
Oh, spoilers again! Fuck!
fuck.
Now I
It's
can't
a-
watch
it-
Detective Pikachu or the Expanse.
It's a sci-fi series. There's aliens. Got them.
Anyway, yeah. So this is kind of.
I don't exactly know how to end this, but it
I
was
don't know how
a
to
good
end this
journey.
either, so I'll kind of begin my traditional wrapping it up. I really want to thank everybody. This has been a really fun journey. I have really enjoyed doing these. Even the episode with Glazer that I'm still upset about. So every time I
It
talk
like
about the show with
poured
Glazer,
that episode with Glazer poured over into the next week's competition episode between me and him on the White Book.
oh yeah,
Where like the props and slops, Glazer and I fought like super hard. I'm like,
Yes.
fuck you, Glazer. Believe what you want.
it also, but it got into the Long Lances chat, got into the
It poured
spoiler
over
chat
into
about-
every group chat ever.
Yes.
Glazer and I do love each other. There was no hurt feelings.
No,
except
they were all
mine
hurt
where I
feelings. Don't lie,
cried.
Jesse. Because at least I had hurt feelings.
It made it way worse that Glazer was right about most of it.
He wasn't right at the end. So
He was not right at the end.
so we all came around together, and that's really that's really what Game of Thrones is all about. And I think, so I'll do the thing here. Maddie doesn't do content, so fuck him. But you should definitely check out The Wars to Come, which does regular episodes on Thursdays, still over at Buzz's channel. Jesse and I are on The White Book, which is every Tuesday. The
episodes are released on Fridays.
On Fridays, right? Sorry, we record every Tuesday. Sorry, they're released on Fridays. They're doing I don't know if Jesse will be on it, but they're doing a like episode recap, like a whole series recap.
I can't do it again. I won't do it.
So I don't know if Glazer's gonna be on that one.
We should also be doing an episode of Second Sons that night because we haven't done one in a while.
Yeah. So Second Sons is a podcast that exists. It's probably gonna be coming back in June. I'm excited to bring it back, but we've been difficult to lack up schedules. So that's basically all the content that you can find with people here. Make sure you check out, of course, also my the How the Why of It videos that are on the White Book YouTube channel that I've been producing.
Best content in Thrones by far.
Thank you very much. And then finally, I want to end on this note because Thrones really, at the end of the day, is all about the story of this. That it's really about our friends being the enemies that we made along the way. And on that note, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I will see you all when I see you. And I want to thank CT, Jesse, and Maddie for joining me.